Hey, what's up, other guys? This is episode 9 of my top 100 action movies from the 1990s series. We have reached the top 20. If you missed the first 8 episodes, do not worry. They will be linked all over this video for you guys to check out later. But today, diving into films number 20 through 11, 10 world-class action movies with some top-tier team-ups that revolve all around different themes, yet deliver plenty of wild action. So let's dive into it. Coming in at number 20 is a movie that delivered the 21st century's most dangerous cop and the 21st century's most ruthless criminal, and those men would be Sylvester Stallone and Wesley Snipes in 1993's Demolition Man, also starring Sandra Bullock from director Marco Brambilla. Now, some people may think Demolition Man is a bit too high on this list, but at the same time, the pairing of Stallone and Snipes was blockbuster cinema at its finest. Stallone just ate this role up and chewed the scenery perfect as an 80s action hero pulled into the future, but really, Wesley Snipes was the star of the show as the maniacal Simon Phoenix. I think Snipes was just all in on this performance. It's completely over the top, but in the hands of Snipes, there's just a legitimacy to it that provided this film with a world-class villain, and an action movie is often only as good as its villain is. But outside of the lead performances, there's a great ensemble cast led by Sandra Bullock, and the world building of the future is totally nostalgic. Demolition Man is absolutely filled with all the genre cliches you know and love, but I don't think it keeps this movie from being inventive and unique and ambitious. From the production design to the wardrobes to the stunt work, this film and the action are impressive. Demolition Man was just a fabric of pop culture in the 90s, and it's still one of the decade's best. My number 19 film would take 2 of sitcom's biggest stars, and after 2 hours would turn them into viable action stars when Will Smith and Martin Lawrence would star in Bad Boys from director Michael Bay. In 1995, Michael Bay would move from directing music videos to blockbuster action movies, and his first film would go on to ignite a franchise that is still going strong to this day. Bad Boys would pair 2 sitcom stars, and the result is one of the best action comedies of all time. Bad Boys, first and foremost, with its just striking score and Bay's thematic direction, is able to build an inviting atmosphere of Miami and endless South Beach style. Then you get Will Smith and Martin Lawrence, who I think go together like peanut butter and jelly, and the result is a film that could easily be considered the lethal weapon of the 90s. The humor is effortless, the adventurous plot, as traditional as it is, does feel unique, and the pace is swift to easily sweep you up on the case with Lowry and Burnett. I think the practical action is awesome across the board, from small to large-scale gunfights, fistfights, chase sequences, and a thrilling edge-of-your-seat finale that just exploded with adrenaline and still holds a place as one of the best action movie closings ever. In order to catch him, he must become him. That was the tagline for my number 18 movie, a big budget blockbuster that would take John Woo, John Travolta, and Nicolas Cage and stuff their endless personalities into one wild movie, and that movie would be 1997's Face Off. Now, Face Off is a film that sounds completely absurd on paper, and its premise was one that took years to finally get into production, but with John Woo directing and 2 iconically over-the-top actors in John Travolta and Nicolas Cage in the lead, what you get is a delightfully ridiculous, just action bonanza that's as cheesy as it is amazing. Travolta and Cage are also, I think, perfectly cast as the hero and villain who switch faces to battle with one another for 2 hours, and with Woo directing, you get enough stunt work and practical action and explosive theatrics for like 2 blockbuster action flicks. I think popcorn cinema is Face Off, and in the summer of 95, this movie was everywhere and people just loved the silliness of it, something that I don't think could have ever been had Travolta and Cage not gone all in on these roles. They are just soaking up the scenery, both have their personalities dialed up to the max, and it's just perfect for the tone of this self-indulgent action film that delivers a bit of it all and then some, with a side of white doves. Now, my number 17 movie may be one that's surprisingly high on this list to some people, but it's an action thriller that delivered an avalanche of thrills and practical visuals that still hold up today, and that film would be 1993's Cliffhanger, starring Sylvester Stallone, Michael Rooker, and John Lithgow, from director Renny Harlin. I can see how some may not put this film as high up on their list as I have it, but I think you have to appreciate the blend of practical stunt work and just the great direction from Renny Harlin. I think Cliffhanger has a timeless visual appeal to it because of all the mountain locations that were used for shooting, where I think green screens would more than likely be used today. I think it's certainly a basic plot, but the unique elements slapped onto it make this film a thrilling ride. I think Stallone has all the needed energy for the lead role. Lithgow, sure, he's a bit much in places, but he's still a great villain with plenty of sadistic gusto and a charming team of henchmen. And then you get Michael Rooker, who comes in to serve as a solid number 2 on the good guy side. But really, overall, Cliffhanger, in my opinion, is great because it doesn't overdo it. The action is thrilling because you can see it all happening. Nothing is over-edited. The cinematography is fantastic, and the pace is consistent. You get Stallone on the run, taking out bad guys and just running and jumping and diving all over these rugged mountains, and it's still a wildly entertaining ride all these years later. In 1999, a new international action star would hit Hollywood with my number 16 pick. When people needed to disappear, they come see Meg. When people need to be killed, they never see Chow Yun-fat coming in The Replacement Killers, also starring Mira Sorvino, from director Antoine Fuqua. Chow Yun-fat would burst onto the Hollywood scene with The Replacement Killers, a very sleek and gritty action film that just thrives on the direction from Antoine Fuqua and the chemistry between Chow and Mira Sorvino. It's a traditional plot progression as an assassin has a change of heart on the job and ends up being hunted himself, but there's just a style and an edginess to this movie that creates an atmosphere that just has a charming vibe of alluring danger to it. The house music gives the film energy when needed, and it elevates the action extremely well, which is where I think this movie really shines. The Replacement Killer is filled with badass dudes, violent gunplay, and chase sequences as everybody makes their play on Chow's character. I think it gives the film a very tight pace with a blend of storytelling and character development and hyper-violent action that you don't often get in the genre. And when the bullets are flying and Chow has his pistols in hand, The Replacement Killers, in my opinion, is top-notch in the genre. Moving along to my number 15 movie is another childhood favorite of mine. It stars Jean-Claude Van Damme and Dolph Lundgren as the ultimate weapons of the future who have just declared war on each other in 1992's Universal Soldier, directed by Roland Emmerich. Now, Universal Soldier is definitely another of those action romps that feels completely like a product of the 80s. I mean, soldiers being brought back to life as super soldiers is absurdly awesome as a premise for an action flick with a strong sci-fi theme. And then you get Van Damme early in his prime and Dolph Lundgren once again providing a film a top-tier villain. And what you get is a delightfully violent adventure filled with plenty of gunplay and chase sequences and violent killing and all the trademark Van Damme moves we know and love. And sure, Universal Soldier is a blend of borrowed and new, but I definitely think the new outshines the familiar progression, the predictable ending, and the relatively by-the-numbers middle act. I mean, Van Damme is undeniably great in this role, but I think much like Demolition Man with Wesley Snipes, Lundgren here is easily able to steal the show as a wild Unisol gone rogue. He's taking people out, dropping great lines, collecting ears on a necklace, and it's hilariously satisfying. Plus, when the adventure comes to a head in the final showdown between Van Damme and Lundgren out in the rain, it does not disappoint as both get their blows in before Van Damme gets the last laugh in true genre fashion. Coming up next at number 14 is a film filled with incredible action sequences and the smoothest special agent in history when Pierce Brosnan starred as James Bond in 1997's Tomorrow Never Dies alongside Michelle Yeoh, Terry Hatcher, and Jonathan Pryce. The Bond films have always been known for large-scale action set pieces and endless international adventures, and Brosnan's second outing in the role with Tomorrow Never Dies was definitely no different. But to me, where it veers joyfully into the department of pure action and martial arts is with the addition of Michelle Yeoh. I think just what she brings to the action department with her physicality and martial arts prowess is just able to elevate a great adventure film into one of the decade's best pure action movies. I think Yeoh and Brosnan are a perfect pair for this plot. Both are able to leave their impact, and Tomorrow Never Dies is a movie that can just instantly lure you in with its imaginative plot and its quick pace. It's a very sexy film. It's a compelling film, and the style is endless, which I think pairs perfectly with the ambitious action set pieces that brought tension-filled action to the screen that we had never seen before, while still being able to hover effortlessly within the playground of being a James Bond film. Coming up next at number 13 is a Chinese martial arts movie not everybody may be familiar with, but it's a flick that's filled with dazzling action and stunt work as Jackie Chan and Michelle Yeoh would team up to stop a drug lord in 1992's Super Cop from director Stanley Tong. I think few films deliver the intricate level of fight choreography that Super Cop is able to deliver with Jackie Chan and Michelle Yeoh. But I mean, Super Cop is much more than a traditional martial arts movie. You got Chan running on top of moving trains and dangling from ladders hanging from helicopters that are moving across the city, and Yeoh is doing handstands on moving vehicles and diving onto the hoods of cars and so much more, which just I think results in this film being one of the best pure action films from the decade, while also being one of the best martial arts films as well. Now, admittedly, the plot of this one and the plot progression from a storytelling aspect is thin and it's relatively familiar along its pace, but it's more than enough to connect just the buffet of awe-inspiring action sequences that this movie is able to deliver within its tight 90-minute runtime. It has strong spots of humor. Chan and Yeoh really work extremely well off one another. Both are just all in on these roles and the physicality needed, and they knock it out of the park with the film that still looks just as impressive and can have you on the edge of your seat all these years later. Moving from Jackie Chan to Arnold Schwarzenegger for my number 12 movie, a wild sci-fi action thriller. How Would You Know If Someone Stole Your Mind in 1990's Total Recall, directed by Paul Verhoeven, also starring Rachel Ticotin, Sharon Stone, Michael Ironside, and Ronnie Cox. Now, Arnold Schwarzenegger, throughout his A-list run, was really able to pull the action genre into science fiction effortlessly, and outside of the Terminator, Total Recall would easily be his best sci-fi themed action blockbuster, because I think the film still holds up impressively all these years later, and the blend of just awesome makeup work and wardrobe design and practical effects and production design with the digital effects, I think that still look pretty good today. It's just a fantastic film to sit back and watch. Arnold commanded this movie as Quaid, and the variety of action is just all nestled seamlessly into this inventive plot. I think Verhoeven's direction, complemented by just some stunning cinematography, give Total Recall a crisp, lasting visual appeal. And I think the fast-moving story really is a true cinematic adventure with great world building, but Arnold still gets his action genre trademarks in. He's taking dudes out, he's dropping one-liners, and just oozing masculinity from start to finish. Plus, this one also delivers excellent performances from both Ronnie Cox and Michael Ironside, so there is no shortage of eccentric bad guys. I think Total Recall could be classed as more of a sci-fi adventure, but with Arnold in the lead, the action genre tropes in this film are undeniable. And for my number 11 movie, we're diving into the dark side of football. It centers on two guys who everybody had counted out, but they're about to get back in the game, and the Tony Scott thriller, The Last Boy Scout from 1991, starring Bruce Willis, Damon Wayans, and Noble Willingham. I certainly think The Last Boy Scout is one of those movies that can sneak up on you and have you completely locked in instantly. Tony Scott gives this film so much atmosphere. It's glitzy and elegant at times, but also bleak and very grim, with two absolutely broken characters in the lead, with Willis and Wayans, as well as a unique plot that fits nicely inside the genre, which results in a timeless classic. I think Willis is essentially John McClane in this film, but much further down the rabbit hole of darkness, and he just kills it with this performance. Wayans, as well, as a nice blend of humor and seriousness, and their abrasive chemistry really is perfect for the needs of this role. You can see these guys clearly dislike one another, but at the end you can feel their friendship, and it's a great ride of just violent action and character despair and the world of professional football and gambling, complete with sadistic villains you can't wait to see get their dues. And overall, The Last Boy Scout to me is an extremely well-crafted action film on nearly every level that rides at full speed from start to finish. And that's everything for today, guys. That wraps up episode 9, covering movies number 20 through 11. Once again, if you've missed the past 8 episodes of the series, they will be linked here for you guys to check out. Be on the lookout for the final episode of the series soon, breaking down the top 10 movies of the decade. It's right around the corner. I've had a great time making this list. I hope to see you guys all there for the final episode. Thank you so much for watching. I greatly appreciate it. I will see you in the next episode, and until then, movies never say die.
This is Jack Burton in the Pork Chop Express, and I'm talking to whoever's listening out there.
Survive a war, you gotta become war.
I suppose we have to register you as a lethal weapon.
You trying to say Jesus Christ can't hit a curveball?